multiple U.S. presidents made it their business to make sure,
Obama.
including Obama, to make sure that she did not get to step foot on U.S. soil again without being murdered or arrested. Right? Like that was her experience.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on.
So we are back.
You better run,
You're not here
bitch.
for my vocals. You're here for my vocals.
I'm here for them vocals, girl. Come on, Brandy. Who?
Brandy Norwood, okay, aka Moesha, and I'm Frank. You are grounded.
Yes, you know, you've been studying the vocal Bible, clearly.
As everyone should. So welcome to another episode. We are back for In the Middle. We know y'all missed us so much. The girls been like, what's the tea? What y'all in the middle of? So
in the middle of it.
A lot of shit. Okay, in the middle of it. So yeah, we're back. And I think this first episode, as we like come back, so much shit didn't happen. Like so much shit that happened. Because I think the last thing we recorded was probably like a year or two ago.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
I don't think we recorded since the election, since the second coming of Christ.
Oh my gosh, no, we haven't. The second,
we have not.
Wild. Was that the end of last year or like the beginning of this year? I don't remember.
I don't know. I know I did live and after Trump won, and we were talking about and Deshaun wasn't in it, but we were laughing when I said, "Is Master going to sell us tomorrow?" Is Master going to sell us? Mama.
Master going to sell us tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh my God. I am screaming, but we got a lot of things to talk about this episode.
Yeah.
Before we get into any of the things, how is everyone doing? What y'all got going on as we enter in this new age of whatever this is this week?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, I'm just on my T-shit, you know. I live in Houston now. I don't know if I hard lunch that with the in the middle audience, but yes, we don't do in the middle in person unless I'm in Atlanta because I live in Houston. So I've been enjoying like building community here, some dope ass Black folks doing some dope ass work. Black folks, people of color, radical leftists, you know. Yep, let me not say radical leftists too loud before they call the people.
Okay.
But beyond that, I've been
the Pope gonna be knocking at your door. The Pope gonna be knocking at your door.
No, it's gonna get real George Orwell up in here. I mean, I've been rereading a lot of classic literature lately, including 1984. It's gonna get real George Orwell in here. The books, Fahrenheit, they gotta burn at 451. But no, so I've just been living life under fascism in the South, discovering that Houston only has 4 seasons that are just like different variations of summer. You know, the trees don't change here. And coming from Minnesota, where I had the most intense fall I've ever experienced every year. It's a tad depressing. I miss yellow trees and red trees and it feeling like I should have on long sleeves. It's like a psyop wearing a hoodie. Because when I step outside, I start sweating. In the house, in the AC, I can wear my hoodies, which is nice. Practicing a lot of yoga, starting to get back into teaching yoga, because, you know, my mat will always be center of my life. And working at Scalawag with Deshaun.
Period.
The wag is my heart. Yeah, so I've been on the editorial front over there, you know, moving through the things. I love my job, love my people, love the South. So that's what's been going on with me.
Yeah, I still live in Atlanta. I am now the co-executive director of Scalawag magazine.
I know that's right.
Come on. Pew, 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 pew. And I am working on my second book, which is cool. So stay tuned for that. So a lot of people don't know this, but I'm also working on music. I've been in the studio with one of my friends here in Atlanta, and I've been writing, vocal producing, and arranging her album. And so I'm very, very, very excited about that. Like, that's been like one of the highlights of my life. Oh yes, also I keep playing with my hand because I'm engaged.
Period.
Yes, I'm engaged to my partner Darian. And that has been really beautiful. That happened over the summer in July, which was also my birthday month.
That ring is
So
beautiful.
the ring, I mean, come on, let's get
They
into
should.
the ruby.
Come on, Yandy.
Life of a wife. She said, fuck them niggas, you my. Fuck all them
Brother on
bitches,
my
you my
arm,
nigga.
brother on your arm.
Brother on my arm, brother on your arm.
Fuck them bitches, you my nigga. And you said fuck them niggas, you my bitch.
It's from
Beauty
Hair Show or
Hair
Beauty
Show.
Beauty. Yeah, one of those.
It's Hair Show, not
It's
Beauty.
Hair
Okay.
Show.
Okay.
But movies from the 2000s, they were so funny, but you can, like, in today's climate, you just can't quote them. Like, even Rush Hour.
Yes, I was
When
just
you
about
watch
to
Rush
say,
Hour now, they
it
have an
has a
entire
disclaimer.
disclaimer at the
Yeah.
beginning of the film. So I am engaged now. Oh my goodness, yeah, like life for me, I think has changed pretty drastically since the last time we recorded. But of course, T and Justin have been a part of all those changes, so like that's not new to them. And yeah, I'm like glad that we're back to doing this. Also, quickly, as I mentioned at the top, I am co-executive director of Scalawag, and we are in the
Period.
process of fundraising
Boost.
as we are an independent media organization that's doing some radical work in the South that funders don't want to fund. So if you believe in radical Southern media that's run and operated by Black folks, Black queer folks, Black queer trans folks, you should head over to scalawagmagazine.org and donate to us. That's my little plug for this moment. But yeah, I'm like, life is a very interesting time right now for me, but lots of good happening at the same time. So yeah.
I love
I'd
that.
love to hear all of these things.
You know, follow the WAG on like all the channels. Scalawag Mag on X, Scalawag Magazine on Instagram, and all the necessary links.
TikTok.
Yeah, on TikTok. All of the necessary links are there to donate to our $20 for 20K campaign. You know, be a sustaining person, you know,
Yeah.
a couple dollars a month.
Yeah,
We
just
love
2 or
that.
3.
Because I love paying
2 or
our
3
writers. We have outstanding writers, which is hard to find in these times, but you know, they're out there, they are Black, they are Southern, they are queer, they are trans, we are covering the things amidst who
They
child.
have the analysis.
We do.
Thing, yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
what-
what most definitely need in this climate.
We do. Trying to raise the literacy of the people.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Justin James, what's new with you? I mean, I feel like the audience will know, but
Well, there's some girls who probably say, "Oh, okay, I'll watch now that In the Middle is here." But and we love y'all much. But no, everybody is very supportive. I appreciate it. What is new with me? I have just been the last couple of months have been better for me. I think earlier this year I realized that I was like going through depression.
Yeah.
Like 2021 just really took me through there. And somebody did this, well, they always do that on
take
Twitter.
me through that. Take me through that.
Yeah, it was definitely taking me through there. Where they asked, what year ruined your mental health? I was like, oh girl, 2021. Like it was back to back shit. And I think I just never recovered from that. So it just slowly took a toll on me over time. And I just kind of like checked out like 10% here, 15%. I said, oh girl, this is not giving. Like I was trying antidepressants, all of the things, and I made some changes, and I'm very happy. Things are better. They're better for me. Just like realizing, hey, this is what's going on. Like let's like try to fix this. What can we do to make this better? And now I think I'm in the point now. I'm just like, what's coming next, sister? Like, like you're in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like things are going good. I was like, things are not supposed to be this good. So what are you going to do, sister? Like something is coming. So that's in my mind. But you know, we take it a day at a time. So I love that. Everything is, you know, I'm enjoying bringing in the middle back with my faves. I enjoy these discussions. We do be talking.
Right.
We be having conversations and stuff, but I love when we just don't be recording. The girls be busy. The girls be busy.
But we
writing
will
books.
be now.
Deshaun is making the point.
We gonna be doing this twice a month.
Twice a month. Oh, so you're telling the girls so they can hold us accountable.
So they can hold us accountable.
Okay. We love accountability. So yes, that's what's going on in my life. And I was sharing this with T earlier this weekend that I was like, oh, like I see why y'all be having highlighters when y'all be reading books. Like I'm like, oh, okay. Like, cause I just always thought, why would y'all ruin a book? Like, why would y'all do that? My mother used to highlight a lot of stuff in her Bible. We won't go there, but we can. So I had got ate up the other day. Well, I didn't get ate up, but the girls took my wig a little bit, and I love that because I was talking about Assata had just passed away, and I know of some of the story, but I didn't have it down. And I see, I'm just talking. I said, yeah, they said she, you know, pew-pewed a police officer and she got away. And them girls in the comments said, she was accused. She was accused. She was framed. Get your story right. But they said in a very nice way, I said, oh, girl, let me go buy the book immediately.
Yeah.
And this is my first time reading. And girl, I've been highlighting. Oh, can y'all see it? Yes. I have been reading.
It's a brilliant autobiography.
It is good. And normally I'm not the biggest fan of autobiographies, but this one is good. Deshaun's is good as well. Do you consider yours a little bit?
My book?
Yes.
It's autoethnographic. It's not an autobiography.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's in the middle because you do talk about your personal experience, but also your analysis with the girl speed. Well, we're going to get there. But yes, I have really enjoyed reading this. And I can't wait till we talk about that because there was this conversation on social media about Assata passing away free. Like she was able to like escape and be free. And the conversation, like this was right after her passing. It was a lot. I was like, oh girl, like
Dea.
Can we? Yeah, like I was like, can we? I don't understand the conversation because this woman just passed away. The freedom conversation. I was like, are we ready for that right now? And reading her book in chapter 3, she was having a conversation in prison with a fellow prisoner who said, girl, you'll never be free no matter where you go. And Assata talked about the like this is maximum prison, but minimum prison is like in our communities, like police patrol, just like they patrol in prison. I said, oh, it's
in 1970, what you know?
Yes,
right.
So this is like, not a new concept.
Take me through there, like
yeah,
like I love it. So buying books, we also have to read them too. Like we can't be collecting them like Pokemon cards.
And read them again and engage.
Read them again. Yeah.
Because, you know something. A scholar that we love. Patrice Douglas, love her.
Yes.
Get her new book, Engendering Blackness. It is an academic text. It is theory heavy. She is an Afro pessimist, and it is heavy Afro pessimism. So those are like the TWs, I guess. Not TWs, but CWs. You know, the caveats. Like, I don't like to be telling people to go and just pick up a book, and they're like, I can't is it in French? So just giving those caveats. We were at a book talk. That our dear friends Ebony and Jordan hosted with Patrice, and Patrice just it was a rich conversation, and it'll be on YouTube soon. But one of the things that I took away from it, you know, she talks about the Black feminist text and the things she cites in her book, and she was like, it's not enough to just read Black feminism or to read Black women, Black queer folks, and just to say we fucking did it, just to put it on the syllabus, just to put it on your reading list. But they need to be engaged. You need to read. Right. You need to sit with these concepts, these contributions. You need to look at what they are doing in discourse. And I know, like, for my own research purposes, for my own writing and research purposes, I wanted 2025 to be a year where I read a lot of Black memoirs, but particularly Black political memoirs, especially of people in exile or people who were involved in like revolutionary moments and were censored in a particular way. So it's wild that Assata passed away very recently, because the first book I read this year or reread this year was Assata. And I read that alongside Andre Buon's My Country, Africa, an autobiography of a Black Pasianara, which, you know, Andre was instrumental in the Congo liberation movement with Patrice Lumumba, but also all of the like African freedom movements, the decolonial struggles in the 60s. So after I watched Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, which is another text that I suggest, films are texts, Andre was a key figure in there. And so Verso Books had the book for sale when we went to the socialism
We love
conference
Verso.
in Chicago. Yeah. So, yes. Love Verso. So they had the book for sale when we were in Chicago, and I just watched the film. And for Scalawag, I had the honor of editing a review of Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat by Dr. Gerald Horn and his student Anthony Ballas. So if you want a really good in-depth look in like the time of Assata, the time of Andre, the time of like this type of fascism on a local and a global setting, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat and then the review by Dr. Horn on Scalawag's website are awesome things to be in conversation with. But yeah, I enjoy going back and reading Black folks engaged in struggle 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, who are saying the exact same things that we're saying now, facing the same things we face now. And as I told Justin, when you sent me the voice note about the Assata freedom conversation, and when you said, can we have some time? Like, it's too soon?
Just a little bit.
My instant response was, well, no.
Correct.
And I said
Just
that
a little.
because of who Assata is. She was a revolutionary, not just an activist, not just somebody into like Marxist theory or left theory. And that's not to like hierarchize people, but we're talking about revolutions, and that's from any struggle across the political spectrum. Because even when I read about like the far right, like the people that consider themselves revolutionaries are quite literally willing to blow up the federal building for their, you know, the South will rise again sort of agenda. There's a distinction politically between who revolutionaries are, who advocates are, who, you know, organize. Like there's a distinction. Revolutionaries on the left and the right are staunchly for the overthrow of the present structure, right? Full stop. We're not talking about, as George Jackson, another, you know, imprisoned intellectual in revolutionary states, the definition of fascism is reform. So that means if we're doing anything but revolution, that to them is not only complicity in fascism, but it is co-constitutive of how fascist repression, so censorship, and all the things that come with it, containment, structures of containment, since we're talking about unfreedom, how they reinvent themselves after periods of resistance. Another cool thing that Patrice Douglas names in her book is that, you know, basically like the time of slavery is interminable, which is an Afro-pessimist assertion, but violence from both sides is a given under slavery. So where there is use of force from, you know, structures of violence, there is violent resistance always in return. So there is nothing exceptional about this dynamic. Where there's violence on one side, there must be violence on another. You know, there's George Jackson, it's like the will of the people, right? Is, you know, their capacity to meet this force with a greater or even greater violence. That's the only way you get out. That is the only way. Revolution is the only way you get out. Anything but that is a compromise. And so with Assata being a revolutionary, revolutionaries, no matter how we romanticize them for aesthetic purposes or for the purposes of having movements and to brand movements as such, they stood for very simple things. There's the door, get out. And so Assata can never be represented as a figure who might have been free. Because the desire to do that is to render, like consciously and unconsciously, it is to render resistance, radicalism, which radicalism and resistance is a level or levels below revolution. You got revolution here, that's the thing, and then everything that you do except that, right? And so in order for you to carry on and be a part of what I call a radical culture, a resistance culture, it has to be participatory. And as Deshawn, you teach us day in and day out, desire, she's not ever letting up. It structures everything. Movements are no different. It's a lot easier to say, come on, folks, let's go door knock and sign some petitions and hope City Hall recognizes that, and then we go vote. It's really easy to say, come vote for my candidate. It's very easy to say, come to my neighborhood meeting. It's very easy to say, hey, we work at Scalawag. Could you please donate some money through very legal terms? We are a nonprofit. If you want your donation recognized on your taxes, like, you won't, for now, go to jail for that. You know, we don't know what the next part of Project 2025 is going to do. But for now, that's very above ground, that's very low stakes, and therefore desirable to participate in. The shit that Assata was doing with the Black Liberation Army, which is not, it is a spinoff of the Black Panther Party and Black resistance movements, but it is the underground faction that was dedicated to going to war with the state. You know, like, I watched a film on the Irish struggle, Say Nothing. It's on Hulu. Same thing, or it was a TV series. Like, the IRA were overthrowing British settler colonialism. Like, they were bombing buildings in London. That's why those women went to prison, right? And so Assata, being Black, already subject to captivity from at the level of being itself, right? So Black people never get free as long as the world is intact. But Assata in particular, exile is not freedom. Fugitivity is not freedom. As Toni Morrison says, like, just because you think you live away from white law, you know, doesn't mean that it's suspended. There is no outside of a structure of violence that is this sort of imperial slavery, white supremacists, all of the things that we are against. As long as that's intact, you're not free. And legally, Assata was not free until the day she died. There was a bond on her head. There have been multiple U.S. presidents that have upped the price on Assata. Assata has been subject to, you know, constant CIA surveillance, and even within Cuba itself, right? Like, the Fidel Castro regime, like, she had to operate under a structure of compromise to be an exile there. So there was no freedom for her. She also didn't have the quote unquote freedom to be with family, to be with friends, or to be a compromised radical, you know what I'm saying? Like AOC radicals. But a lot of these, you know, and we live in the time where political prisoners, former political prisoners from Assata's time are amongst us, right? Like, I'm in Houston. I was with, you know, Ashanti Alston earlier this year at a function. He was BLA, BPP, and arrested on very similar terms as Assata, and released, I think, in the 80s. And is still dedicated to struggle. So we live in contemporary times, but those folks are always subject to being thrown back in, being watched. And in order for them to be out, they compromise their insurgency to participate in this thing we call movement. And so I'll, you know, leave it here and turn it over to y'all, but I just wanted to be clear on that point, because when people are revolutionaries, like, first of all, we shouldn't misrepresent the dead and the incarcerated, especially, to help us sleep better at night. It helps us sleep better at night to say, but my sis got out of prison, she escaped, and she died free. You know, it was hard, but she died free. That is a lullaby that people tell themselves. And we do that all the time with politics. Like, well, you know, Kamala's a fascist, but like, it ain't Trump. So like, woo, something safe. No. The moment you start doing that, you leave yourself open to further predation, because that too is against the structure of fascist reform. And so I just wanted us to be clear, like, when it comes to Assata, when it comes to Black revolutionaries, you know, even the ones that are revolutionary political prisoners right now, like, I love letter writing campaigns, I love awareness campaigns, but anything short of busting them out Like, we're not doing what is demanded of us. And so because we're not doing what's demanded of us in these above ground movements, like the trade-off, the compromise of leaving them inside is having movements that honor and tell these narratives of awareness about them. And we render them desirable people so that our movements have currency and, so that folks are willing to support their campaigns. And so hands off Assata to me also means like hands off her legacy.
Period.
Yeah, I don't think that I have much to add to that, but I do want to say that two things. One, I think it is a part of the Black imagination or a Black and white imagination for a desire for our folks to go somewhere after death, right? We want our people to be free because we know exactly how confined they are in quote unquote life, right? I don't see people arguing that Assata was free as any different than Black Christians who know their families was not living by biblical terms, saying that
Terms and conditions may apply.
Heaven. You know your cousin was not out here living the way the Bible alleges that they're supposed to live. And yet we go to the funerals and we say, I know that they're in heaven, right?
Okay.
Because
Can I rise up?
okay, we they going up yonder. We find a way to preach. We find a way to preach that that our cousin, our aunties, our whomever is free, right? Because we even whether it's conscious or unconscious, we know that to be enslaved is to not be free.
Right.
And that the experience that Black folks have on earth is not freedom. And so for me, like, that argument was not even something that I could even really entertain, because there is no way to think about someone who has been exiled, who has been falsely accused of something that they did not do, and has been exiled in response to that, as a consequence to that accusation, who has never been able to experience life since then in real relationship to the people that she loved, that she knew, right? I mean, we know that, there were underground connections that allowed for her to see folks when it allowed and things like that. But I don't know how you can argue that someone was free when they quite literally could not step foot in public, right? We don't even have more than a handful of images of Assata post her escape, because she is not free. And for me, because we know, right, the transatlantic slave trade exists as the largest open air prison in its time. And Palestine exists now is recognized as the largest open air prison in this time. And in these times, we know that prison is not confined solely to the four walls that make up a physical prison, right?
Right.
We know that prison is not just Rikers. We know that prison is not just the Atlanta jail, right? We know that prison is so much more than just the four walls that so many people, so many Black folks are incarcerated in, right? Which is to say, Assata doesn't have to be sitting in a physical prison for her to have not been free.
Right.
She, under multiple definitions, did not experience freedom, could not experience freedom, and even in the quote unquote afterlife is not experiencing a freedom where she's allowed to exist outside of the confines of the social thought of this sort of like social imagination, of this sort of like public debate around whether or not she was free, which to me indicates that she wasn't. Because if it's something that we have to debate, if it's something that she can't even escape in the afterlife, then there is no freedom for her. And I think that, like, even as the news spread about her passing, I started seeing people talk about her as an ancestor, right?
Mm.
Which for me is like
Sound-
even in our imagining of our folks as free after death, we still imagine them as laborers, as people who are supposed to labor on our behalf,
Yep.
and that is not freedom.
Nope.
Like to have to perform labor on behalf of other people without your consent is not freedom. And so to me, I'm like, not only did she not die in exile, she's now expected to perform as a laborer on behalf of other people in her death. And to me, that it doesn't get clearer than that not only is she not free, but neither are we.
Mm.
And that forces you to be real about the things, right? Like it forces you to be real about movement. That's why I started this conversation with, in lieu of revolution, we're doing the everything else across the political spectrum until one side or the other ignites the big oof or whatever and breaks down that proverbial door. Everything that we are doing in lieu of that is automatically compromised. And as I've put in my writing, you know, I'm a career organizer, quote unquote, or I have been for over a decade, and I now work in movement media. I recognize what I'm doing. I'm not free to do this. Resistance isn't freedom. Because I'm resisting, it's not freedom. I have been sentenced to doing hard time in lieu of me being thrown underneath the prison or having to be exiled or being killed by the state for the things that I do say and believe. Movement, laboring for freedom, laboring towards freedom, is still captivity. And we have to be honest about that. And that's not a fun story. That's kind of spooky.
It is very
It's
spooky.
kind of nightmarish to know that even when you and you know, to use the Christian framework that Deshaun brought up, like to discipline oneself into living Christ-like, and not just Christianity, in you know, in lockstep and in alignment with any sort of practice. I'm a yogi and I get up every day and I discipline myself into yoga things, right? And try to lead a life of in these ways. That's disciplining, right? That's conscription. That's captive. I was listening to an interview with recently freed it's Indigenous Peoples Day. I was listening to an interview that Leonard Peltier did with Democracy Now! Very recently, which is on YouTube. But yeah, a lot of that interview, Leonard's like, yeah, I've been released back to the res, but every step that I make outside of my home, I can't go to the store without checking into ostensibly an overseer. And the moment he moves, like it sends up alarm bells because he, at over 80 years old, after also being incarcerated for decades for something that he didn't do. I encourage everybody to look up Leonard Peltier's story, but you know, especially from a left perspective. But he languished in prison, and there was a massive political prisoner freedom campaign for him. He's one of the foremost images of AIM, the American Indian Movement, and for like anti-colonial struggle globally, but especially on Turtle Island in the United States. And he will tell you in an extensive 45-minute interview, I wasn't free inside. I'm not free now. And it's not just because the state dictates this as the terms of my release, because Biden let him go on his last day in office. You know, President pardoned him, but he's on basically house arrest. The fact that his people, Native Indigenous folks, still live under the structure of settler colonialism, even if all of his state charges are dropped tomorrow and he stops checking in and he gets to quote unquote live on his reservation freely. He's not free on a reservation. He's not free in the US. He's an Indigenous person living in a settler colonial state. And so no matter how we want to put it, like these are the stakes, you know.
I was thinking, I'm glad you brought that up, Deshaun, because I was thinking about that when I did my live last week, and those who watched it will know, for like, what is the after? Like, am I still enslaved? Like, I was thinking, and it's just me just being silly, of like creating a movie because it's spooky season, like it's spooky season. That what about like a slave or someone who is whatever, like if we're going back, a person who is enslaved, they pass on, and they're like masters, like best or whatever, like they pro master, whatever. If they turn into a ghost, are they going to hunt the blacks, or are they going to be hunting the whites? Like, you're still enslaved, so if you die a raccoon, theoretically, like, you might be out here hunting black folks. Like, you're still holding the whip, as Sean would say. Like, damn. So, oh my gosh, like, does it get better? What?
No, it
No.
doesn't. And I think like, and I mean, I won't do too much on this, but I think that like people, this is why when Afro pessimists talk about anti-blackness as comic or cosmic, rather, when we talk about anti-blackness as the thing that constructs the world, that's something that exists as metaphysical, as sort of ontological violence, as this thing that lives in the air, right? Like, that's what it means. It's that you don't get to experience freedom even in your death, right? Like, you don't. It's not something that even in your physical death, it is not something that like you just get to die and move away from. And I don't even think that we have to look at like, like any sort of like deep theory to even think about that. We can go back to the 2010s when Mike Brown was murdered and laid in the street for 4.5 hours. He was dead for 4.5 hours and laid there. EMTs refused to help him while he laid in that street, right? Like that's what it means to exist as a Black person who does not get to experience freedom after death, because in that moment he was still being criminalized while the officer was able to move around and was able to construct a story. And the people who were supposed to be first responders to support in that moment refused to assist him.
Yeah.
And everyone who struggled on his behalf after that, or almost everyone, has died, has mysteriously died, right? Like, that's what it means to exist in captivity. That's what it means to exist as a fugitive, as someone who was always already criminalized and penalized because of your relationship to Blackness. And we refuse to acknowledge that as such. So when Assata dies peacefully or by natural causes, right, we want to say, well, at least she wasn't in shackles. And I agree. I'm grateful that she wasn't locked inside the physical prison, shackled up in the ways that Mumia is right now, right? Where we're having to campaign on his behalf because he's going blind, right? I'm grateful that she didn't experience that. And at the same time, she also didn't get to be with her family. She didn't get to actualize a future, right? Something that Black folks are robbed of day in and day out. It's actualizing a future, imagining something beyond the violence of anti-Blackness, where you get to experience something like a white picket fence and a nuclear family, right?
Yeah.
And really believe in that as freedom. She didn't get to experience that. She didn't get to see the other side of a world wherein she was accused of this violent act, which, by the way, even if she had been the one to pull that trigger, I still would have very much supported her, just to be clear. Like, just so we're clear.
Let's be clear.
But she didn't get to see the other side of a world that accused her of such a violent act and that sent her into exile, and she didn't get to see a world wherein that was no longer happening, because there were many people after her who also became political prisoners and who also were accused of the very same violent acts and who are sitting in prison to this day. And she didn't get to see the other side of that, because, as T named, multiple US presidents made it their business to make sure, including Obama, to make sure that she did not get to step foot on US soil again without being murdered or arrested, right? Like, that was her experience. That's what life was like for her. I like, and she was again living in Cuba under embargo, right? Like,
Mhm.
there are levels to the type of captivity she was experiencing in real time that we will never actually be able to understand because we don't get to have that experience as a captive. She was living in a different type of captivity, and that's why we can see it as freedom, because it's very different, two very different things. But that requires us to have a better understanding of American imperialism than I think many of us do.
Let's
Yeah.
wake that part up.
That's something I've definitely been like, we need to understand what these things are. And I think it is very uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable to know these things. Like me and T having that conversation. Oh, so there's no freedom. Like, not even a second. I can't even, okay, sister, these things. It's like, no, because I really was feeling some type of way. And normally I don't, but I was kind of turned off by the conversation a little bit. So reading the book has definitely made like added perspective and made me uncomfortable and question myself. Like, you're always learning.
Yeah.
And shout out to the people who were telling me, even in the live, when I made the mistake of misquoting the story, it made me go, hey, I need to read this book. Like, I'm not only wrong, I need to have more understanding. I think that's important.
Yeah.
If you are someone who wants to talk about these things and have a platform, and you need to be wanting more, not just for yourself, but the people who are listening to you. So shout out to all the folks who pushed me. Well, they didn't tell me to read the book, but just that made me like, okay, girl, like, let me do the research, because this stuff, I do care about these things and I want to be more informed on these things.
Love that.
So yeah, I'm really enjoying this conversation. This was on our docket, but like I miss it so much. Oh, I miss it so much. So with that being said, we have someone else who has been pushing a book for you all to read.
It's a perfect segue, actually.
It is perfect.
We talked about revolutionary feminism and revolutionary martyrdom. Now let's get into Negro liberalism.
Because someone asked me, have I read 107 Days by the former VP Harris? And I told them I'm not interested in a tea book about shit that I already, like, this is gossip. Like, that's just what it is. I imagine, and it's no shade, the people who are reading 107 Days are like white feminists, like, who go to the gentrified coffee shop, which I went to earlier today, and feel like they've done something, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But if you have been paying attention to people who are the radical left, the things that she's naming in the book were the things that folks were saying that they were getting ate up about on social media, that this is not a good campaign. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so shout out to T for sending us the snippets of the audio, because one thing T said, oh, this is what we're talking about, let me dive all the way.
Yeah, I wanted to at least have, an excerpt. Like, I am a critic, big C critic, and I am, a member of the press. And so I'm never asked to weigh in or give a review of something without at least reading an excerpt. And so, under this structure of techno-capitalist violence, I'm still a subscriber to the Spotify. And with that Spotify membership, you get a bunch of audiobooks. And it's a set amount of hours a month, but my hours just renewed. So I was like, well, let me, before we have this conversation, like, listen to at least
see what Big K talking
the first 2 hours, because
I'll admit
sense of her delusion. Like,
I'll admit that I was reading some of the book before today. I'm not gonna lie, but it was for the same reason as T. It's like, I want to be aware of what, like, if I'm going to criticize this woman, I want to have a very fully informed cultural critique, and that includes reading or listening to her words. So yeah, I had admittedly definitely been reading some of the book. I haven't read all of it, and I will not read all of it. I don't care enough. Yeah, but I definitely have read through some of it.
Yeah, Julesy kind of forced me a little bit, because she did a video talking about it on her Patreon. So shout out to Julesy. Yeah, it's.
I enjoy it. I also, like, one of my favorite things, I say this often, one of my favorite genre of anything is like, I get why the whites are excited, right? So like, no, like I
100%.
love pop culture.
No,
I love
yes.
pop music, I love pop media. Like I will watch like a Quentin Tarantino movie and be like, I get why this is like the bastion of white late 20th century culture. And that is a part of raising your own media literacy. And so in my diet of media consumption, especially around hot button issues like elections, government shutdown, genocide in Gaza, the shit happening with Venezuela. Like I listen to liberal pundits. It's not enough for me as a anarcho-communist, Afro-pessimist to just listen to the black left or just listen to the left or only listen or go to the far right for contrarian. Liberal media is dominant media. And I've gotten in the habit of turning on your Ezra Kleins and Pod Save Americas because these are the people that worked for Obama. These are the people who structure the DNC. This is like if you're into sports and you watch Stephen A. Smith and College Game Day on Saturday. Like these platforms are that for the Democratic liberal machine that is the center of this nation. No matter how much MAGA and Trump and the far right take up, that to me is still marginal to what's happening on the left, or excuse me, the liberal sort of center. And the liberal center is moving further right and further right and further right. And that is indispensable. That's an indispensable understanding for my development across the board, professionally, politically, just a person living in this world. And so it is always important to know from the horse's mouth how Kamala felt about this, how Kamala experienced that. I will say, listening to the book today, I was just sitting back and just being fascinated because, again, she didn't say anything that surprised me. And this election was so heavily covered by media. There's a passage in there where she talks about her social media strategy. And she was like, so I gave 5 Gen Z staffers the keys to the TikTok and let them have that. Facebook was for the boomers. Instagram was for the millennials. X was for the policy or political junkies. And then I had my K-Hive. And the K-Hive is ostensibly her stance, is how she describes them. They're the people on the internet who know, she says basically like, they know everything about me. They know all about my history, blah, blah, blah. And they amp me up and they share my stuff. She relied on stan culture to sell herself as a viable candidate, not just against Trump, but also against the Democratic establishment and Joe Biden. And I think just her mentioning that stood out to me a bit more than, and then, when Joe called, I got on the phone with Hillary and Bill and Barack. That's what she's supposed to do. She's the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. That's who she's supposed to call. But the fact that her K-Hive was
powers that be.
That K-Hive is literally why she has a book deal and why the book is being treated as serious.
Yeah. And you bet not show up to any of those speaking engagements, and you bet not protest her because she is fucking speaking. She's fucking speaking. Okay. It's not I'm speaking, if she's giving, I'm fucking speaking. Because she's pissed off and she warned you. She warned us about the things. And I told you all, and we told you.
and we told you.
And you're going to tell her. And you're going to tell her.
Watching her be on this book tour right now is actually infuriating.
Yes.
Because it really is her I don't give a fuck, I told you so book tour. And to me, it is so incredibly violent of someone who is an elected official, who is an establishment politician, to be going on this type of tirade right now in the midst of rising fascism in this country. The people who are coming to your book talks, for the most part, outside of the protesters, are folks who are fans of yours. They are people who did get up and who voted for you. this is not the moment to sit in anyone's face to say, hey, I told you so. So now I'm going to sit back and watch this shit burn because y'all refuse to vote for me. It's nasty. And what I think people refuse to recognize or forget or whatever is that politicians are supposed to be servants of their constituents, which are the people in their communities, in their country, in their states. They are not supposed to be celebrities. But because of the way that capitalism, American exceptionalism, American imperialism,
let's be clear,
really push to make celebrities of everyone, politicians have fallen into this idea that they are supposed to be celebrities. And so you get Kamala Harris quoting and talking about Beyonce and Kendrick Lamar in her book. And you get her going on stage talking about how difficult it is to listen to Beyonce's Freedom post-election. And you get her, going out into the public and doing her Queen Elizabeth waves to the public because she has become a celebrity in the midst of a celebrity being elected into the White House for a second term in a way that I feel like is not talked about nearly enough. And it's frustrating to watch because it's like, no, ma'am, you actually are the perfect person to protest because despite what you believe, you are an elected official and you have not said that you will never run for anything else again. You have never said that you will not be, to some extent, an elected official again. And irrespective of whether you do or not, you sat for 4 years as the vice president to a man who has made it his business to support Israel in the ongoing genocide of Palestinian people, which means that you have been complicit to genocide, which means that you are, in fact, a war criminal. That is quite literally the definition. That is quite literally the definition of what it means to be a war criminal in international law. So you made the decision to sit on your hands. I don't care how much she tries to position herself as someone who was powerless, who had no control, who pushed back against Netanyahu and who pushed back against Biden behind closed doors, but in public had to show unwavering support to her president. I don't care how much she tries to position herself in that way. You had the choice to go public about your discontent with the ways that Biden was handling the genocide, and you did not. And you sat back until Biden gave you the go-ahead with your last 107 days to run a campaign, and you ran a shit show of a campaign. And you decided to lean into the ways that the American liberal left has become center right and moving further and further to the right. And you campaigned with fucking fascists to try to get the right on your side, and you didn't have the left on your side. And so now you expect for us to forget or pretend like what happened in those last 107 days didn't happen. And you're trying to position yourself as someone who always existed in opposition to Biden, who always believed that you were so different from the man who you campaigned alongside, as if we didn't witness you go from a woman who ran in the primaries, who called Joe Biden a racist, and then happily call him up when he was elected and said, "We did it, Joe. You're the president of the United States of America." Like, we witnessed how you made that transition in real time. So you were able to publicly go against him in the primaries or before the primaries because you knew you weren't going to make it past the primaries. Because in the election where you did run, let's be clear, you were never even a top two choice. So you had to drop out. Like, let's be clear about what happened here. I could never give her a 10. I could never give her a 6. I could never give her a 4 because you decided to write this book and play in our faces play in the faces of the quote unquote the American people, as if you didn't choose to support Israel, and as if you didn't write in this very same book
doubling down on it
that you fully believe in Israel's right to defend itself. Like you named on multiple occasions in this book that you believed in Israel's right to defend itself, and you interrupted Netanyahu in a meeting and you told him that, and then you followed up with, but it's the way that Israel has to defend itself that has to be contended with. No, Israel doesn't have a right to defend itself against a nation that it violently suppressed and violently took over and colonized, to then commit an ongoing decades-long genocide against those people. Israel, against Palestinian people. Israel doesn't have a right to defend itself. But you have to position yourself as someone who believes in that, because you do believe in that as an establishment Democrat, and you know that you cannot isolate Israel as someone who does represent the U.S. and still have good foreign relations, which is why you presented that in the book. So people have every right to protest you, because you are still very much an establishment Democrat, and you will not denounce that, and you won't go against that no matter how much you think you're against Biden. And so, yeah, people should show and they should protest you at everywhere you go. You should have no peace at any point in your life for the rest of your life, for as long as you choose to be on the side of the U.S.
Because
there's no type of accountability in it at all.
Zero.
None.
She tries to do the like both and you know, I read the book not just, you know, as a scholar and a public person or political person, but as an editor, just looking at the way the book is written. And I'm like, over here on page 72, she's, you know, making all of these qualifications, you know, this happened and that happened, and the establishment, you know, tried to bury me and they tried to disappear me, and they only wanted to, you know, put me out front when they needed somebody in Biden's place. And she'll, you know, she don't fully throw Netanyahu under the bus. Even a lot of liberal consensus right now, and I get that you write books months and years prior to their release or whatever, but since the beginning of this aggression or this escalation, this round of genocide since October 7th, 2023, because let's be clear, since the Balfour Agreement was signed in England, like that means settler colonial presence is anticipated and then installed. And on Indigenous Peoples Day, let's double down. The presence of a settler, right, and a settler structure confers a genocidal presence. So there's no ceasefire, there's no two-state solution, there's none of that. As long as there is Israel on Palestine, people with a flag for Israel, somebody calling themselves Israeli and having a state by that name to confer it to return to, there is a genocidal presence. Full stop.
Point blank.
You know, just wanted to make that clear for a second. So it's like the liberal consensus since October 7th has been Hamas is a terrorist organization. They ravaged Israel, and you know it's getting a little out of hand how they're going about it. But the people of Israel were already upset at the far right ruling coalition, the far right Zionist rule. To me, a Zionist is a Zionist. There's no liberal Zionist. There's no commie Zionist. They may ascribe to certain politics, but let's be clear that there was socialism, you know, Marxist, communist socialism used to confer the early settlement of Palestine by the settlers. Like these were sort of beatniks, and these were radicals. And there was a lot of, you know, democratic socialists and global socialists affirmation of this settlement. So please read the history. But let's just pretend that it's possible for there to be a liberal Zionist and a far right Zionist that makes sense. Netanyahu has been positioned like Bolsonaro in Brazil, like Trump here, you know, like what is the shorty in France, Marine Le Pen, like Netanyahu is put up there with those people as the far right fascist bad guys. And Israel is supposed to be a liberal bastion of democracy, the only quote unquote democracy in the Middle East. That is the propaganda, and that center liberal consensus is what the Democrats and a bit of the progressive circle has capitulated to. Go check Bernie Sanders's comments on the matter. Go check AOC's comments on the matter.
Yeah.
And so even they have from the beginning said, well, of course, this is getting violent and out of hand and heavy-handed because Itamar Ben-Gvir and Netanyahu, them, they are this fascist, ultra-right extremist regime. And the Israeli people have been protesting them to get out for, the last 6, 8, whatever years. Like, for the dominance of the 2010s has been to, quote unquote, try to stop the rise of far-right fascism in Israel. And the Netanyahu coalition has taken over. And so they've used that from the beginning. Kamala didn't even all the way give that point. She did a little bit of trying to like single out the Netanyahu of it all, but she immediately followed it by ever since I was a child, I have supported the institutions that support the Zionist entity. That is absolutely dangerous of a point to be given to a largely media illiterate populace who just goes along with what they faves do. I'm not surprised with the K-Hive sentiment, nor the fact that there's an overwhelming number of the K-Hive and just like Black women and like liberal and Black liberal internet that are condemning the folks that are disrupting Kamala on this book tour, that are still holding would you still want to have Donald Trump? Like if you would have elected her and yada, they're still holding on to that point because that's stand culture. We see that every day on the internet about everything else. Beyonce and Ron and Nicki Minaj and whoever, like that's the culture, the Swifties, that's the culture of consumption that you are currently indoctrinated in. That is the hegemonic structure of consumption, as Deshaun alluded to before. So of course, it's no different, again, when the political official is celebritized. People still can't let Obama go. And Obama, the red record presents itself and continues to present itself, And so I wasn't at all shocked that she moved in that way. But it's just like, oh, you're tripling down on the things. Mm-hmm. And the whole, like, the way that she's being exceptionalized and the as you point out, Deshaun, like the mood of this book tour is, well, bitch, I told you so. Or if you would have voted for me then, and blah, 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 blah. It's the same sentiment that started when, Black women did our job and Black women are tired.
Exactly.
And so we're going to
vote for me. I'll set you free.
So the fascist is in office and our communities need us more than ever. And we need to be, if we not have a revolution, we need to have a robust resistance. Black women are tired. Don't call Black women for anything because we did our job. We voted for Kamala. We campaigned for Kamala. We went to the dance party with Beyonce and Glorilla and Megan Thee Stallion for Kamala Harris. We circulated the Cardi B video for Kamala Harris because Kamala relied on the Taylor Swift, the Swifties mobilized because I'm a
birthday cake.
I'm a cat mom.
I'm a cat mom.
I'm a cat mom with no husband. Swifties to the polls, the green. She talks extensively about the branding. Like last summer, we reached a peak of white feminist pop music. Like all of the white girls dropped. Ariana and Charlie and Taylor.
Ariana's a white girl now.
A white girl. You want to be a white
girl? See, my problem with you. You really want to be a white girl now.
You want to be a white girl.
You want to be
now because you did want to a couple of years ago.
Well, let's be real.
That song with, what song was Ariana singing? She was doing a lot of blackity black music.
Of course. I mean, The Weeknd is her work husband. Let's pick it up. But pop does as pop does. But the Kamala Harris, the point that I'm making is the Kamala Harris campaign sees this moment of pop feminists, women and everything. The WNBA is booming. All the girls are dropping an album. Beyonce got her American Flag album at Album of the Year, and she put her campaign in the mouths of all of those and relied on their standhood to be in alignment with K-Hive, and she thought that was going to be enough because to her, the MAGA celebrity, tapped on his Charlie Kirk network and Theo Von network, and that was enough to ride for him. But you didn't deliver a single fucking thing for work.
I told y'all they were gonna give y'all some loans and stuff
for the climate. She got her ass up there and said,
"I was gonna have podcasts. Everybody get a podcast mic. Period."
She said, "I will not ban fracking." You know, like
She literally like verbatim.
Let's just pretend Palestine and genocide aside, right?
We ain't even talking about healthcare for all anymore. Like,
No.
we don't. The Democrats don't even talk about that no more.
No.
Like,
Trump made
girl.
the fucking made a whole campaign around she's for they them, and she went on news
And abandoned trans
and was
people.
like, "Oh, I'm not really saying."
I actually been locking they thems up and making sure they're in the correct
Like
fucking
that
gender.
was the campaign
prison.
she ran. They asked her
not.
explicitly. They were like, "Are you, like Trump has made this entire campaign around this? Are you?" She danced around the question completely.
And then to her position on one of the points that she tried to use to talk about the way the party did her dirty as vice president was she was tasked with securing the border. Now, that is already a dog whistle.
Right.
Full stop. But let's
Full
keep
stop.
going. So then she's like, you know, the right tried to paint me as this like border czar, and everything happening with the national security at the border was my fault. Nobody looked at the data of what I did do because the party suppressed that, because, you know, this is still the argument that we had to prop up Joe, so we had to make Kamala small. And she was like, you know, she went to, you know, Guatemala and, you know, these Central American nations, the very same nations, right, that we are deporting people from, caricaturizing right now under Trump. Let's remember, Joe Biden had locked up and deported more people since the Democrat before him, Obama, who also set records. So at this point, this is Democratic policy, is to deport people en masse. It may not have looked as quote unquote visually stunning as families being separated at the borders and children in cages, but you better believe that they were getting migrants up out of here under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala used very neoliberal talking points, right? She basically said, what I did was I went in those countries and I asserted American and corporate hegemony. She said, you know, I brought 70,000 jobs and I got $5.2 billion worth of investment from private corporations into these countries. We know what that means. It's no different than the IMF and World Bank having existed since the fucking end of World War II, going into these countries, overthrowing leftist regimes, sowing seeds of chaos. Like, we know how the CIA works, and then making chaos give way, disaster capitalism, making chaos give way to a power grab by corporate interests who then exploit the local people and the land and the resources for capitalist gains, and, you know, send that money back to the metropole while they continue to systemically underdevelop these regions and these zones. And it is indigenous people and Black people around the world who suffer under these conditions. She dressed that up in very liberal talking points, said, I tried to do a lot for the global South people to stabilize them in their homes so they stop coming to our countries, despite never mentioning that they're leaving their countries because we tear their shit up.
Y'all blowing that shit the fuck up.
And exploiting them. Right.
Let me tell you
Everything that's wrong with these countries is because of the dynamic I just named, right?
Yes.
Like globalization, underdevelopment, and like exploiting these nations and these people, which is why they come here. She didn't use that line. She said it was my job. I was tasked with stabilizing them in their home so they stopped coming over here. And this is how I did it. And she still didn't save herself. But I'm not expecting the Negro liberal or the liberal feminist, right? The girly who thinks that the new Taylor Swift album is good and not fascist. Like, I'm not expecting her to like move away. I'm not expecting that I'm with her still girlies that are at these meetings to not still be K-Hive down.
Yes.
This pussy grabs back.
Well, and I think I watched this documentary, the Turning Point. Turning Point on Netflix, the Black and the Cold War was so fucking mind-blowing of how this country has what the U.S. considers. Well, yeah, we have to stabilize, baby. I'm glad to use that word. Like, when the U.S. talks about stabilizing,
they mean for capital.
Yes,
they mean rubble for capital. They mean what's happening in Gaza.
We have done some fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Some real fucked up shit. Like, I've always heard stories about the CIA and all the things. Watching that documentary is so good. I have to watch it again. There was just so much information put out about the Vietnam War, about what the U.S. has done in Guatemala. Like, There's a reason why these countries are fucked. Like these countries have tried to establish their own government, their own systems, and the United States said, "Oh, girl, we can't have y'all hoes fucking with cap." Like, bitch, no. Like you hear these things, but the way they were able to put this together in this documentary for brilliant. I now understand why shit be happening.
Yeah.
Like I now understand. Oh, like, and I'll say enough because I ain't trying to. But girl, if it happens, it happens. I now understand why things happen. The shit that we have done over the years, even before I was even thought of, is fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
And I think in this era of seeing, like, if we talk about fascism and all of the things that have been happening, you wouldn't catch me fucking dead with a fucking flag on. And I'm saying that as a veteran, as someone who gets disability check on the 1st of the month, sometimes the 30th.
I don't know the government down, baby.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Now the Democrats are trying to use, like, we got to do something. Yeah, because the girls are not fucking with y'all. Like, they're not fucking with y'all. Have not stood up to this man at all. Y'all have not stood up.
Better lay low.
Yeah, like it's giving y'all favorite girl, y'all favorite, grand wizard been out here on a damn book. Like, no shade. Like it's
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And we have to, like, I'm being completely honest. This is off the rails, but I just, what is happening right now? Like, was all the shit that we were doing, and we've been saying that for show. Like, we was doing this and that. We was smart. We was doing all this shit. Now motherfuckers is turning around wearing an American flag, reclaiming this shit, reclaiming our time. We all have helped this. Yes.
It's a cultural, all of this shit. This is what, as Frank Wilderson says, this is what happens when you have a culture of politics and not a politics of culture. Okay?
Yes.
Like, period.
Now,
like the girls cosplay. Beyonce, it's very, in Beyonce terms, we was Black Panther Party in 2016 at the Super Bowl, or 27, whenever that was. In the 2010s at the Super Bowl, we had our Freedom Black Panther cosplay, and Black Panther movie was in the theaters, and Kendrick Lamar was making We Gonna Be All Right, and, To Pimp a Butterfly. And then you fast forward into these times, and we are Cowboy Carter. We are reclaiming the Texas flag, that exists because, Mexico said no slavery. And then Texas said, we're going to be a republic to keep our slaves. But Beyonce put that on an outfit, and it's okay. And then, it's also okay to do the settler colonial American flag because, like, people like, I like a little Israel with their settler colonial flag. Like, it's just a little bit, just a little taste. Not maybe that.
Make sure I got some hot sauce in that bag, though.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, as to bring us back to where I started, we render these movements desirable for participation, and all they become ostensibly is participation points. And then we move on from them, and then we wonder what happened. We wonder what happened to the reading group. We consume all this analysis day in and day out, but it's like, it's not moving us toward a revolution because we're complicit with just like simply doing a movement. And like that has its limits, and it presents itself in the fascism moving everything far right, even the furthest reaches of the left. We're accepting Zohran Mamdani right now, and fucking Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene have better things to say about Palestine and what's happening in Gaza than, you're the guy that the Democratic Socialists put in place, but then has been endorsed by the Democrats. Like, we have to look at these movements.
And it was a struggle for them to even do that. They don't even want to meet with them.
I want to know what happened behind the scenes, with why Eric Adams pulled out. I mean, it's some real Democratic machine happening.
I would be surprised if
with Zora.
I would be surprised if Trump had something to do with that.
I think the DNC got on that phone and said, "We're doing the Zoran. Sit down.
We're going with it.
Get your black."
I think they feel a little bit more comfortable now, given that this ceasefire deal with Trump is like, oh, girl, now they can stop talking about this shit. It's like, girl, it's how many more lives since? How many more buildings and people have been?
The day of
the ceasefire,
yes,
they murdered.
It will continue.
Yes.
Early this morning, last night, just literally targeted, and they're like, "Oh, these are the gangs that are armed by Israel." Blah blah blah. So I mean, but as I said before, as long as there is a settler colonial presence, there is a genocide. Period. I don't care if that genocide looks like putting people underneath the prison and making sure, you know, like all of the marginalized people starve and don't have access to schools and like live in fucking a bordered open air prison. Like, be it the way that we live in the US or around the world, like as long as there is a settler colonialism present, there is a genocide present. Full stop.
Period.
Like for me, I know I want us to. I know I want us to move on. I do, but I'm just for me. I get so angry. I get so angry because people talk about like since October 7th, 2023, people have been talking about the genocide of Palestinian people as if it was just some new phenomenon, and as if like it's something small, you know, like Kamala and Biden and all these. Biden, if I remember correctly, proudly said he's a Zionist.
Literally.
But
No,
like
he did.
literally,
There are no
but
safe Jews if there's no Israel, according to Biden.
like literally. But Kamala and so many of these other politicians talk about it as though it's just some small like political policy thing that just has to be figured out. Israel quite literally holds onto the bones of people who have died in prison and to make sure that they do their bid. Right? If you die in an Israeli prison before the end of your sentence, they're holding your bones.
Is there freedom in death? No.
Palestinian people have been under calorie deficits since the 2000s. They've been starving since the 2000s. Right? Like Obama sent a record-breaking amount of money to Israel to maintain its power over Palestinian people during his tenure as president. This is not something that's just like, this is, for me, it's infuriating because it's like, they're tired of being quote unquote heckled in public because of their legacy as war criminals, because of their legacy as people who refused to end the violence against Palestinian people. But for nearly 80 years and counting, this is what the Israeli government has been doing to Palestinian people. And they've been propped up by the US, by Britain, by the West, to make sure that this Western project is maintained in this region of the world. Like for in my mind, it's like, it's outrageous to me that can even be like, that we could even have a quote unquote an election cycle wherein that is just a talking point on like in a series of talking points for these people, as if like that's not the real reality of what's happening to Palestinian folks, and that has been happening to Palestinian folks since the creation of Israel as a project. Like it baffles me and it angers me because I don't know how you can hear that literal bones are sitting in prisons doing a bid that the persons whose body was supposed to be doing that bid can no longer even really serve. I don't know how you can hear that and still think, well, you know, we must release the hostages and Hamas is a terrorist organization. Who gives a fuck? Like these people, these people quite literally cannot get their families out of prisons after they've died. I know that's the point I keep saying, but it's like, for me, that's the point where I'm like, can you imagine your loved one is locked in a prison, they die in prison, and you can't even get that body out of the confines of that prison, out of the confines of those walls, because the government is still telling you that they have to still serve their sentence. And until their sentence is served, that body is staying in that cell.
These are things that we published in Scalawag.
Before
In
October 7th,
in August of
2023.
2023. These are first-hand accounts
Exactly.
from people in Gaza for Abolition Week. And I'll enter a point here on talking about the genocide of it all. Like, of course, this is how Kamala and DNC are moving, because central to the normalization of Israel and the Zionist entity from the beginning has been media and culture. In the same way that I pumped go watch Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat and or read Dr. Horn's review of it for Scalawag, even, to get the gist of the film. That film is about the way that our jazz greats were used by the CIA to have pop culture like concerts and stuff in Africa to fundamentally help destabilize Patrice Lumumba and other revolutionary regimes. We see in real time the world's second richest man, Larry Ellison, who has long been a friend of Israel. And you can just insert tech gods and apartheid states here. Elon Musk in South Africa, Peter Thiel
Heavy
in,
on
in
that.
South Africa and Israel. Right. So this isn't just this case, this is just one case study. Larry Ellison, who is the CEO of Oracle, which makes its hundreds of billions of dollars by leasing data server space to all the other demonic tech gods that are taking over everything with the AI and stuff. He makes his money off of that. His son, a billionaire Nepo baby, just bought Paramount, which owns CBS. They are huge donors to Israel. In the, 3 weeks since the deal is signed, one of the first things they did was install Barry Weiss, who is, Google her too, Bari Weiss, or new editor-in-chief of CBS News, one of the largest media organizations in the world. In the United States, is now the editor-in-chief of its news arm, is a far right-wing Israeli supporter, Jewish woman, Barry Weiss, who owned this platform called the Free Press, that among other things is quite literally in the last couple years circulated doubt that the people in Gaza are lying, sensational stories. They're not really starving. Oh, these people had pre-existing conditions. It wasn't just a starvation, right? So they are taking over, like they have taken over your media. And I know it's supposed to be an anti-Semitic trope, and we're supposed to watch saying things like Jews control the media. But in this case, it is documented. One of the biggest stories of our time right now is the fact that Larry Ellison of Oracle, his son, has bought Paramount and is literally moving. Netanyahu said a couple weeks ago, we need TikTok. TikTok and social media is the frontier of battle. Yeah. They're also buying the data of TikTok. So I think it's spilled over here in a number of ways, but that is the most immediate, that your literal news is quite literally, it's always been in service of normalizing Zionist entity and empire, but they're just, it's like full mask off now. And we need to,
I think the social media really hurt the brand of Israel, and I think they definitely recognize that. Yeah, how powerful TikTok and social media. That's why all of these platforms that have been sparking conversation and debate and questioning things have been bought.
Yep.
Because Twitter was one of the biggest.
Yep.
One of the biggest, and it got bought, and now it's right wing down. And it's a lot of bots. It's a lot of bots. Every I'm seeing Mr. Nick on every tweet. I'm like, what's going on? I don't want to see him.
Mr. Neck is crazy. Mr. Neck is insane.
Well, but yes, shout out to y'all for that.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. What? And speaking of moving on, okay, one of my favorites.
The standing girlies.
Right. Moving on is one of my favorite songs by Brandy.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. We need the rap girls to know what moving on means.
Hey, Sean, take us away. What's been happening with the rap girls?
The rap girlies were cutting up. They were just doing a lot. There was a lot of drama. And it went on it got low. Okay.
What sparked it? Why are we talking about people's kids? What happened?
So I will say I actually have very little interest in talking about the back and forth itself. I'm more so interested in like the implications of what's happening with them versus like this current Taylor Swift rollout, and like we'll get there in a second. But to give context to what's happened, Cardi B released her sophomore album "Am I the Drama," which, by the way, is a spectacular record. Spectacular record. I was genuinely pleasantly surprised. Everyone knows I've always been a big Cardi B fan, but I was nervous about her follow up to IOP because it's been 7 years, and you know, I just wasn't really sure what was going to happen with this follow up. But it was actually really, really good, and I've been playing it on repeat since it dropped. So there's that. But she released this album. She went on this really cool and very innovative for the 2020s era rollout for the album. It sold 200K first week. That became a really big conversation, and it's what sparked this sort of like interaction between Cardi and Nicki Minaj, because Nicki Minaj's last album, Pink Friday 2, sold 228K first week. And you know, it became a big thing for, I guess, Nicki Minaj to feel like, you know, Cardi came back. She's supposedly this really big seller, this really big artist, and she sold 28,000 copies less than my last album. Now, to me, I think 200K first week for a woman in hip hop is incredible. No one else is pulling those numbers besides her and Nicki. I also don't think that 28K is a big enough difference to be doing all of the things that Nicki has been doing for the supposedly queen of rap. What I also think is true is that no one has surpassed Cardi's last album's first week numbers, Invasion of Privacy. What is also true, however, is that no one at all has surpassed Nicki's debut copies, which was 375K. I want to name all of that up front before I get into what I really want to talk about, because I do think that both of them went incredibly low in what they were doing on Twitter, and I just don't even want to entertain that because I think that was just outrageous. What I want to talk about is the fact that in 3 weeks' time, we watched these two women argue about 200 and 228,000 copies, and then we watched Taylor Swift sell over 3.8 million, 4 million copies in the first week. Now there's a lot to discuss in terms of, like, you know,
what counts,
what counts and what doesn't count, and all the things that there's a lot there that we can't talk about.
She had a film that did $33 million the first weekend. The number one movie this weekend, despite 4 new films debuting, was the
Yes, we can talk about all of that in a moment, because I think that's not relevant to the point that I want to make, which is
I would rather Swiffer wet jet concrete than watch a Taylor Swift anything. I would rather be out there like doing this with a wet jet on concrete.
The point that I want to make is that these women were fighting over what is not even a margin of what someone like a Taylor Swift is doing in these times. But what I think is, so I want to contextualize all of this for the folks who are watching. Cardi B named in one of the tweets to Nicki Minaj that she should be competing with her peers, which she said were Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Drake. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Taylor Swift, Rihanna, and Drake. Taylor Swift has debuted with over 1 million copies for like the last 4 or 5 albums, I want to say. So there's that. Drake's highest selling first week for albums was Views. That sold over 1 million first week. The one behind that was Scorpion, when he released that album on streaming services. I think that debuted at that debuted around 700K, I think. That's what Drake's numbers are. if we're talking about the quote unquote big three, which is Nicki, Drake, and Wayne, Wayne had two albums, the Carter 3 and the Carter 4, that debuted at 1 mil.
Okay.
Right? Nicki Minaj's highest selling album is her debut at 375K. Rihanna's highest selling debut, I think, is like 400 something. Beyonce's highest selling debut is Lemonade at 683K.
Mm-hmm.
I'm naming
Repeat that one more time.
Beyonce's Lemonade debuted at 683K. Now, I will say that was impressive considering the fact that it was not on Spotify. So her first week sales, those came specifically from, almost exclusively from not from Apple, well, from Apple, but also from direct sales, physical sales.
Oh yeah. This is still 2016, so people.
Yeah, this is 2016.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm naming this is because I want to really contextualize what's happening. Jay-Z, who is regarded as one of, if not the best rappers in hip hop ever, his highest selling, highest selling first week sales, I think, was for the Black Album at 600 something K as well. I think. I haven't looked these numbers up in a while, so y'all can fact check me. But the reason why I'm naming
checking some of the stuff now
is because Nicki Minaj, what I think Nicki Minaj's fans and Cardi B's fans refuse to acknowledge is that women in hip hop is already a marginal genre inside of a very marginal genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop as a commercialized genre is very new. And in fact, some of the ones who helped to create or who helped to popularize hip hop in that way were the big three, quote unquote, Wayne, Drake, and Nicki. Nicki's biggest records to this day are her pop records.
Yeah.
Not her hip hop records. Starships were meant to fly.
Yeah.
That's her biggest record. And I'm not saying that to be shady, but I am saying that to say that she and Drake in particular really helped to commercialize and make hip hop something that was no longer what people want to continue to call it, this like sort of like battle competition, and it became a popularized pop genre. That's just true. Like, you don't get that without Nicki Minaj in particular fighting for streaming numbers to count towards record sales.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that to say these artists, these women in hip hop, most of whom cannot sell over 100K, most of whom can't touch 100K, should be, instead of arguing with each other about these, what are very small numbers in comparison to who Cardi B is naming as their peers, which is true.
Yeah.
If you're looking at, if we're there's two things I wanted to say here. One, if we're thinking about black artists versus white artists, Beyonce, who is one of
You're
the
allowed to
biggest
talk
artists, right? Beyonce, who is one of the biggest artists in the world, has never touched 1 million first week sales.
Never.
But Adele and Taylor Swift have on more than one occasion.
Taylor Swift just dropped 4 million last week. The peak of the streaming era.
Like,
and they're saying this album is trash.
And the album is trash. Like, even the white girls are mad about the album.
Yes.
Drake has touched the mill first week. Drake has touched the mill first week as a rapper.
And you're talking about first week.
I'm talking about first week specifically, not overall. Yeah, because we know Beyonce, like, she has sold the copies. Like,
yeah.
So the reason why I feel like, thank you for that, for making that distinction clear, T. The reason why I think that is important is because, one, if we're creating art, we should just be creating art. Like the art should be about longevity. It should be about what is good, what represents your life, the current times, whatever. But if these folks, these women who are in this subgenre of a subgenre, were really thinking strategically, they wouldn't be going at each other about 200K, they would be thinking about what it means to exist in a white dominated space, and trying to find ways to make their marginal genre become bigger than it is, not necessarily for the sake of building themselves as celebrity, which we all know these folks are very much interested in, but rather for the sake of being able to platform more women in hip hop to be able to share their art in ways that has not been true since, honestly, before Cardi came in the game.
Yeah.
And back when Lil Kim and her folks were running shit, because Kim has also not touched more than 500K first week sales.
So I looked up the list of just the top 20 best-selling hip-hop albums, period, of all time. Here are the numbers. Top 20. And the number one is Speaker Box Love Below, Outkast at 13 million total.
As it should be.
Total. I want to point out, when we talk about racial dynamics, that Eminem is on this list multiple times, and he's number 2 with 12 million for the Eminem show. And then he's at number 3 with the Marshall Mathers LP with 11 million. So we're talking Eminem total, not even getting beyond 11 and 12 million total for a hip hop album.
Right.
Of course, Notorious B.I.G., 11 mil as well for Life After Death. Beastie Boys Are White, Licensed to Ill, 10 million. Tupac's Greatest Hits and All Eyes on Me are tied with them for 10 million. The one woman on this list twice, one solo and one with the Fugees, Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is 10 million. And she's tied for 10 with Nelly's Country Grammar, MC Hammer's Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em, Eminem's The Curtain Call. And then in the 9 million tie, you have Big Willie Style by Will Smith, Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent, Eminem's Recovery is 8 mil, Lil Wayne's The Carter 3 is 8 mil, Nellyville is 7 mil, as is the Fugees, which is Lauryn Hill again, the score. And then tied for 6 million at the back of the list is Drake's Views, 50 Cent's The Massacre, and Dr. Dre's 2001. So
wow,
that's
no woman there besides Lauryn
Hill. The first one.
And then how many years ago was that?
That was 90.
The 90s.
Yeah, yes. It was in the 90s.
Yep.
Exactly. But you have to also remember, hip hop didn't become this like
mainstream
thing really until the 90s. Like you had Queen Latifah and MC Lyte and Moni Love and all these folks who were creating for women in particular in the 70s and the 80s, and the same were true. Or the 80s, yeah, not the 70s, thank you. In the 80s. But it didn't become this popular thing until, 79, but yes, the 80s. It didn't become this popular thing until the 90s. And it wasn't popularized in this way until the 2010s, to be quite frank. And so, like, in terms of, like, women in hip-hop, now, the men is a little bit different.
But even hip-hop in general, you're right. Hip-hop culture was niche Black culture until the mass turn in the mid 90s, when you have, the Wu-Tang Clan and Tribe Called Quest. The sort of golden age of hip hop is when hip hop begins to beat the door, right? When hip hop within its own culture gets more infrastructure for itself, like your Source Awards and all that shit come online. Right. And then it's really like the height of the East Coast, West Coast, the death of, B.I.G. and Pac, that rapist that got, sentenced last week. The Bad Boy era, like that was the first time. And Will Smith was where we try to make, it popular music. Jay-Z makes it a little more popular, but you're right. Until we get into the 2000s, and a lot of it again is white, right? Like you have to give Eminem sales and the MTVification of it all. Cause even in the 80s, like Michael Jackson being on MTV and doing Thriller was a huge deal, because Black people, Black music, R&B, soul, hip hop were not mass culture. You are right. It's the OVO sound and it's the Atlantification trap of everything that has made hip hop like the global standard sound, right? So even Bad Bunny and them, are people of color, reggaeton, a lot of Black folks in that space, but their bass sound is still a trap sound, and that is very much a post OVO turn of the things, internet era.
Exactly.
Yep, you're right.
Exactly. So
come on, Trap T.
So the point, period. So the point that I'm making there is, Nicki Minaj should be seeing the fact that her highest selling album, or her highest selling first weeks, not her highest selling album, was at 375K for her debut.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Instead of punching down at women who have never been able to even touch 300K in an industry where most people are seeing at least 500K, most people who are her peers are seeing at least 500K, it should infuriate her to not punch down, but to punch up. And in some ways, I think that she has been trying to, she's been doing this whole, like let's antagonize Jay-Z and Desiree and other folks in that way. Let's antagonize Rock Nation. But I don't think that it's authentic enough. And I don't think that it actually does what she needs it to do, because she's still punching down. Mm-hmm. And instead of Cardi and these other women seeing as like, hey, we're trying to build this dynasty in this moment. We're trying to build this empire, but maybe we should be doing this, and this, instead of going at each other.
Yep.
They're not doing that. When your white peers, people who came in the industry at the same time as you, are selling $4 million, when your male peers have touched $1 million or at least 600K, you should be looking and saying, why is it that in terms of all time sales, there's still only one woman who exists in the top 20?
Yeah.
She should be on harmonic shit.
Exactly.
You don't hear shit from her. You don't hear shit from Lauryn Hill about Queen of Sales. I was the first one to win a Grammy.
She don't give a fuck. She don't. And for me,
figuring out to talk about it though.
Well, yes. but for me, it's like seeing, and I'll stop here because I know I've been talking a lot. But for me, seeing them go at each other like that, when you put those numbers in front of you like that, is upsetting to me, because I'm like, I don't get it. Like, hip hop is no longer this like thing you do on the street corners in the Bronx or in New York in general. And it's also no longer this thing that like, well, in a way, it is still this thing that folks in the South are still having to fight to have access to be clear.
Which is why.
And I think folks on the West Coast too, which is why Kendrick Lamar's run has been so significant. It is still very much this northern game, this northern competition, but what it should be doing for folks to who are like experiencing this, these women should be saying, hey, maybe we should be able to like get together in this way to be able to produce something different, to try to shake up the culture a little bit, so that maybe our numbers do start to match our peers, because we are producing, we're creating under a very misogynistic industry that doesn't want to see Black women who rap making money, period. But also, we also see that the Black women who are producing pop records are not making even half of first week sales as their white peers.
Like your Beyonce's. Yeah.
Like
Rihanna.
Those are the things that we should be thinking about and having conversations about publicly. And instead of like, they haven't even done Katy Perry numbers. And if like, I know all of us remember Katy Perry at her peak was that girl.
In the Super Bowl.
The only one to this day who still holds the record for, I think, having the most number ones on one album. Like, she's that girl. Y'all aren't pulling those numbers. You're not, and there's no other woman. The song wasn't doing that much numbers, so why would they waste their time? Word to Cardi B. Like, so for me, as someone who is a really, really, really big fan of women in hip hop, who like most of the hip hop I listen to are either old heads or like the women. It's disheartening to witness Nicki Minaj bully in the ways that she does, and to witness Cardi fall into this trap of like trying to be separated from women who can't sell like her, because Cardi does. Her numbers are incredible.
Yes, diamond
for women who can't sell like her, instead of, and I do think that she has pulled women up in ways that Nicki Minaj has not, to be clear. But it's just sort of infuriating to see, because I'm like, if you put y'all's numbers alongside your peers, they shitting on all of y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
And I mean, I thank you so much, Deshaun, for spending that much time like breaking this down for the audience, because I do think we live like across the board. This whole conversation, to me, one of the big themes is like there's a veneer of something, and what we're presented on circulation on like social media and stuff, and the era we live in, because we could have just had that same exposition about like my favorite medium, which is film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like The Rock's is, the Smash Machine came out and they spent X amount of money on it. It was like a $20 million A24 movie. And, the masses are crying on his behalf because, quote unquote, the movie flopped. The movie only brought in $4 million the first weekend. Paul Thomas Anderson, who is widely considered to be the greatest director of all time, arguably, and definitely the greatest director of the 20th, post 20th century, he dropped the movie One Battle After Another, which is considered to be the best film this year, and possibly arguably one of the best films of the decade.
Yeah,
amazing film. I have my critiques, but go see it. I enjoyed it.
I miss when you was in Atlanta. We used to go. Oh my gosh.
I know that film only did 6 to 8 million the first week, because that's what happens when you do non-genre, non-big IP films in the streaming era. In the COVID got us out of the rhythm of going to the movies, and so has strikes and all of these other things. But the fact that people can sit at home, the movies are on streaming in another couple months, it's whatever. And so it's like, on the one hand, you could, yes, from a ticket sales standpoint, The Rock's movie flopped the first weekend. The Rock's movie came out the same weekend as Taylor Swift's movie. Taylor Swift's movie did $30 million. And that's wild, because in this climate, for any film that's not a Marvel movie, and we can talk about on that level of scale, because there's scales to this. The Marvel movies have had to fight for their lives. They're not doing $1 billion total anymore. They're not doing $1 million the first week anymore.
They're pissed about it,
and they don't know what to do. They've had to redo their entire strategy at Disney, because these reliable means of expensive ass IP aren't doing the numbers that they say they would. They put Avatar back out in the theaters, and Avatar did more numbers on a re-release than no movies are doing right now. But that's the world we live in. People have their faves, people have their cult followings. They just have things that they're going to support no matter what. And you cannot expect an A24 movie, which, despite its private equity backing and its high valuation, A24 is known as the premier indie art house, like hipster, movie space. That's what they produce. So historically, none of their movies are going to do anything close to a Marvel level. And if they do, they have to leave them damn movies in the theaters for a long ass time. The movie wins or get nominated for the Oscar, it do numbers on streaming, and they re-release it back in theaters. Like, I went to see Hereditary last Halloween. Saw it in the double feature with Longlegs. The Hereditary movie was packed, because Hereditary, in the 8 years-ish since it's been released, has become a cult classic. If you put it in the theaters, even for one night only, horror movie heads are going to go see it. And so I think when that is the reality of the thing, but people are like, but I see a commercial for this movie all the time. Everybody I talk to has went to see it, or I hear this song all the time. It's on the commercials. Like, it's suggested to me, number one, on my Spotify. Those are algorithms.
Yes.
Your algorithm know you listen to a bunch of Megan Thee Stallion, so it's going to tell you to listen to Cardi B. That does not mean my phone says the same thing. I'm listening to Rochelle Jordan. It's telling me to listen to Kalela. Like, that is the way it works. And sometimes I have to pop my head out of it and realize, like, oh shit, on Spotify, it's so curated. Like, I don't see the Joe Rogan podcast, like, advertised to me at all. And that's Joe Rogan. I don't see Joe Budden advertised to me at all on none of my channels. Yeah. But those podcasts do way better than everything that I listen to. And so, yeah, there's this veneer that for the last, 5 years, hegemony in hip hop has been Black girl culture. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, you need to know the lyrics to New City Girls, the New Meg, the this and that. But then people are like, why are the albums flopping? Because these things are only good in circulation from a high number standpoint. They literally art, and I was telling Deshaun this, I'm like, I'm starting to pay attention to like the fine print. Like it'll be like X amount of hundreds of thousands or million in streams on Apple only, in streams on Spotify only. First day stream single song
It
on
streams on
this
demand.
one platform, or number one used sound on TikTok. Like when people are constantly seeing something or hearing something, you really think it's bigger than it is. And then like they go on tour and they're like, oh my God, nobody bought tickets. Well, yeah, like remember Deshaun, you were like, I was surprised that Doja Cat don't have 2 nights for none of her shows. And I'm like, I'm a concert goer. And I'm like, oh, that's an anomaly. The only artists that do multi-nights in the big cities only are Beyonce, Taylor Swift, The Weeknd, Bad Bunny. Like the people, those that.
Well, the reason why I was surprised was because she's been like propped up as though she is one of those people, even though we know she's.
And she does a really good show. She does a really good show.
Yeah, it's an awesome show, and I'm sure the one nights will definitely sell out, especially in the large markets. But when I lived in Minneapolis versus living in Atlanta, my bubble was burst. Like I'm like, oh, when I go see a Black Panther movie, it's me and 3 other people. When we go see Spider-Man, this bitch is sold out for weekends.
Yeah.
Same Marvel movies, but in Atlanta, you got to buy Black Panther tickets months in advance. When Beyonce and Taylor Swift came to town, Beyonce did one night. It was in the stadium, the university football stadium, not the stadium where the Vikings play. Taylor Swift did multiple nights, same summer in the Viking stadium where the NFL team plays. I could have got a Beyonce ticket in Minneapolis to stand on the football field for $125, and to sit first row in the audience, $85. I paid more for basketball games than that, and these are LeBron games, not just anybody. Like LeBron's in town. I moved to Houston. Beyonce did 3 nights. I mean, obviously it's Houston, but it looked the same in Atlanta. She did 3 nights. And this is the Renaissance tour. And the nosebleeds tickets were $350. And so I think like when we're reading media, we need to think about there is no monoculture anymore. No. Sorry, that died in the 2010s. The internet, the algorithms, there are no monocultures. That's why it's fucking hard for people to win elections, which is why you have to have hives and followers, celebritize and spectacle. And even then, the people who go actually to the polls versus the way that our whole world is an election for X amount of times, it don't add up. And so I just think I'll land it there. It's just, we need to be, you talk about media literacy and cultural literacy. Like it starts with like seeing through the veneer, seeing through the vision of the things, because what you love and what everybody you follow love and hate, it don't look the same for everybody else. I've heard certain Megan Thee Stallion songs 1,001 times, but I live in Houston and I listen to a certain algorithm, and I'm never surprised when her albums flop, even if I like it. You know what I'm saying? So I just think we should be real.
Yeah, there's been a conversation, and Julie has pointed this out as far as like TikTok. And how the algorithms are catered to us to even have us comment on things and like, oh, it knows. I will say I was on TikTok last night, and there was a story time of this guy talking about something that happened, and then the next part showed up. Like the algorithm knew that I was going to be interested in watching that, and they knew I was going to want part 2. These machines are learning. I know YouTube is infamous for that. Used to be a while back, years ago when I first started, that YouTubers would do a video, like I can say, reply to something that Deshaun did or T, and it will show up. That doesn't happen anymore. It's like, oh, like we're going to play another person similar to this person that does this style of content. The machines know, and there's been conversation about how these machines can be racist towards Black artists, indie artists, because if you're always in this algorithm, you're not going to get any new artists or someone who's smaller. And also the labels know that. So they kind of pay to have their artists' music be played and be the top of the playlist. And all these things hurt smaller artists. Megan Thee Stallion just was doing a interview, I think it was to Taraji P. Henson, where she talked about, hey, I'm not interested in debating on like with the fans about my album not doing that many numbers or what have you. Just enjoy the music. She said, I'm not going to be fighting with the other rap girls, and well, she's talking about the newer girls. Like, I'm not going to be talking about my album and all that. I just want you all to enjoy the music. I don't want to put the other girls down because they didn't do what I did, or I don't want y'all to feel like I'm not doing well because my numbers. And I'm glad that you brought up the voting thing, because last year, some people thought, given the campaign and all of the hype around Harris, that she had a chance. I kind of fell for it a little bit. I had to reel myself back in, but it was like, oh shit, like, you had Megan come out, you had people showing up and videos. Yes, it was like, oh, she's going to win this, but we were all in our own bubbles.
Yep.
We were all in that. Like, what is going on? How did she lose? And there could be some conversation about some riggery with this election. But I think for the most part, we have to be real that some of these things are not. A lot of folks are performative. They will say certain things, they will do certain things.
Yeah.
And when I go in a booth, I can vote completely opposite of what I've said. I mean, we've seen that with the conversations around anti-fatness. Me and Deshaun have seen several things like, oh, I thought we was moving this away. What's going on? And now you're saying, oh, girl,
you're doing Tony do.
Like, I did the reading group. I read the book. It was cute.
Like,
and I had a moment. I was really into my COVID.
You within your own bag, and I feel like the bag it's not a real thing. Yeah, it is. And
like I think bitch, your time up.
Why is you not clocking out?
Why is you not clocking out?
TikTok.
Bitch, it's really hip hop.
It's really hip hop. So I'm just interested in enjoying and consuming certain things. I think the way we've consumed music has been disgusting. The way we consume media, like even now, to a lot of folks listening to certain things, podcasts in 2x speed. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that per se, but we're consuming so much stuff that we don't even have the time. So we have to compress it. We have to compress it to consume it in a certain amount of time. And I kind of like, this is why I do these certain months, I'll do like a decompress, like I'd be off my phone and turn my phone off, because we are always online. I'm saying that as a content creator, someone who, yes, the more you consume me, the more you watch my stuff, I am going to make more money. But I want you to log out for a second and to touch the world around you. When people say touch grass, like, I'm not talking about you touching the grass in front of you. I'm talking about touching the people around you. Yeah. Like, interact with your environment, and then you will see, oh, shit is kind of like not what I thought it will be. Mm-hmm. There are people struggling. There are people who are hurting because of this policy and this thing. Like, I am not interested in 2025 in any, like, even when it comes to the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny performing, I'm not interested in pissing conservatives off. That is so 2012, 2013, like, oh, y'all mad. If you're doing white folks, I mean, the Republicans are not just doing shit to piss us off. They're also pushing policy and passing policy.
And winning. They're literally
winning.
No, so it's like, seriously, to that point, like, I put a video
your time up.
When I was in
Why
England,
is you not clocking out?
I put a video up when I was in England last year, and it was like a snippet of something else I was talking about. I was telling people about my experience, but I was like, I came here and I went to Miss Buckingham Palace, and I saw all the gates were named after, like, the former colonial holdings of the British Empire that built this big ass city. And it really humbled me. The whole, they will never care. I feel like a period of, and not to use the right wing dog whistles, but I do think the whole, like, again, the veneer of the DEI fake progress that happened in the 2010s, where we started to see more people that look like us, that were not cishet white men, that we started to see more women, more queer and trans folks, more people of color, more Black folks everywhere, that issues begin to, like, move to the center of dialogue and conversation beyond our algorithm sometimes. Like, we are bamboozled into thinking that progress was real and not just a cultural moment. And so, like, yeah, those gates and those palaces are still standing. You know what I'm saying? The empire is proud of the shit it has done. That's why it lets you have a movie like Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. Because in the 60s, they did all that shit and won. They locked Assata and them up. they killed their comrade. They killed Lumumba. Like, and they left you Nelson Mandela. And you saw that compromise. Apartheid may be gone on de jure, but ask Black South Africans how it is to be a Black South African. Right. Hello. So I think, again, we need to pop these bubbles, because the more we continue to think it's all about, oh, they mad, make them real mad. You sitting here retweeting fucking Jasmine Crockett doing They Not Like Us while Trump is addressing the fucking Congress like the scene of Emperor Palpatine taking over the Senate in the Star Wars movie. Like, that's happening in the chambers, and her ass is in the hallway in some slippers doing the Kendrick Lamar dance from the Super Bowl. You look silly,
but people are eating that shit up.
They love it. The K-House girlies, the Black women are tired. You know, ooh, they mad. Like, yeah.
The white liberal moms.
Yes. Who have Black and brown friends.
They love a Jasmine Crockett, honey.
The girls who think The View is serious. Like, the people that have Whoopi Goldberg on The View Politics, like, get out of the way. Actually move, because you're taking up space. So, yeah.
Move out the way.
I'm my girls, and we all need space.
I need some space. I really need some space.
When a queen comes true.
A queen that comes
right. Like the Red say.
Like the Red say.
Okay. Oh God. My girl really.
How many times? No, she ate.
She did.
But that album debuted with 300K.
And I have the physical copy in my car, because my car is a 2006 and I don't have an aux cord.
No, I mean, like the album is very popular, but it debuted with 300,000 albums sold first week.
Yes. And actually every white person on I love Beyonce. I love her. That performing shit gets somebody. I love Beyonce.
And that's why Beyonce
and getting the vote move and do what?
Yeah, and that's why Beyonce has to live on tour, because she's not making the money from the units. She got to sell you Secret and everything else.
Crazy.
Secret.
Well,
Sacred.
Secret.
Girl, we can talk
Secret
so much.
Is taking me out.
Secret. You putting the secret on your edges? I got you, girl.
Girl, oh my gosh, I have really enjoyed this.
Same.
With all the things. So is feminism flopping?
I need her to get up. I need her to get up.
Stand up.
Many times.
Stand up.
When a queen come true, probably the red second. Okay.
Move out the way.
Oh my gosh. This has been a really good episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. For the first episode, this was a banger.
Yeah, we back, y'all.
How many copies y'all think we gonna do first week? How many copies y'all think we gonna do first week?
I think we're gonna sell 100K first week.
How many views?
100K.
Like,
first week.
Views? And then it's like, well, if you look at in the middle on YouTube and then past, the highest viewed video is, and then we're like, okay, but like, play it again. Just don't even listen. Just play it again.
Just play it again. Any final words? I know that you all were mentioning the Scalawag campaign. Make sure that you all are going to support Scalawag and all of the things in their 20 for 20. What is it? 20 for?
Yes, 20 for 20 campaign. We need y'all support, y'all. Radical media in these times is not able to secure the type of funding that we normally would be able to. And so we gotta rely on the people to help make sure that, you know, we're able to produce stories that does not reify the very same propaganda that right-wing media is pushing. We got to be able to cut through that noise. And we can only do that with the support of the people.
We want you to. We want you, but we also really want you to like, share, follow the stuff that we post.
Yes.
And we want you to visit our site and read our work, and like posting a Scalawag screenshot with a link and tell a friend. Like, y'all love in the middle. I assure you, you're gonna love what our writers have in store. Even if you start with the stuff we've just suggested today, like go watch Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat. If you can't get the film because it's on, streaming or not or whatever, like read the review. and let that invite you in and click some of the links within it and really do
Yeah.
support the media.
Read the series that we have from the Palestinian writers that we published in
Yeah.
August of 2023. And
And
beyond.
continue. Yeah.
Yeah, read some of the stories that we've published from incarcerated writers over the years, from organizers in Atlanta, in like conversations around the ways that Grok and XAI is disrupting Black communities in Memphis. Right, like there's a lot of stories that we have that I think are really, really important that y'all should go in and check out. And like T said, a screenshot with a little, y'all look at this, or sending it, sharing it with your friends or with your family or whatever in the group chats.
They have the share button, the reshare button on Instagram now. Like, hit those 2 arrows and like try to beat the algorithm. Tell your timeline, like, I want to see more of this on my timeline because I want Sinachli free, a current Chicano revolutionary political prisoner incarcerated in Texas, and like he has written for Scalawag in the last couple months for Abolition Week series, and there's an active freedom campaign for him right here in Houston. They always need support. Write him a letter. All that information is in the piece, and that's the type of journalism that we are pushing at the WAG.
Yes, we definitely have some work to do with the kind of journalism. I remember that that graph of white conservative media versus black, and
the
then
left.
they have the Breakfast Club as the left.
The Breakfast Club was the #1 most followed left media on that graph.
To be honest, when you think about even this past election, like Kamala going on the Breakfast Club and call her daddy were much bigger deals than her being on any other platform, and that's the world we live in, which is wild.
Yeah,
it is wild. And they will have her on and then turn around and have a transphobe making jokes. Yeah, hate that for everybody. This is why we need Scalawag and other media sites.
Indie media, left media, support us.
100%.
Period. The real shit. So thank you all so much for another episode in the middle. I hope y'all enjoy y'all week and y'all time. Make sure y'all following all of us. And until next one, we'll see y'all later. Bye.